So, GOP Congressman Markwayne Mullin of Oklahoma has a brilliant theory he'd like to share with us on what the real cause of the recent Florida school shooting is: video games. Right, so let's go ahead and listen to what he has to say, and when we return, we'll discuss.
I'm standing here at the nation's capital. Looking behind me is our Washington Hall and a lot of our monuments behind us, and they all represent really greatness of what we've overcome. And about every monument back there has somebody that went through struggles. And one of the darkest days is when we lose someone that we love. And obviously, talking about the school shooting just recently happened, I can't imagine as a parent how devastating that's got to be. The darkest days got to be the day after you lose your child, especially when you send them to school where you think they're going to be safe and secure. And the first thing everybody wants to talk about is gun control. And I kind of look at this a little bit different. I look at this because of experiences that I've had in my life, and plus an experience I had with my kids. I walked upstairs not too long ago, and my two boys were playing Call of Duty with my brother-in-law. And I looked at it for about 3 minutes, and my palm was sweating, and I was seeing things that I've seen in real life. And I thought that the graphics are so real that can't be good. And I made them turn it off, and they've never got to play it since. And Call of Duty is the #1 selling game in the country for 9 years in a row, and yet we're exposing our kids to it, and we're desensitizing our kids to violence. Hollywood elites that always want to call on gun control, are okay with making millions and billions off exposing our kids in this generation to violence and glorifying it. And you're going, why? Games that are supposed to be entertainment are desensitizing our kids to the violence of what it's really like. And then you put on mental illness on top of that. Look, there's a bigger picture than just gun control. When we have gun control, only thing we do is punish law-abiding citizens, but let's talk about the whole picture too. It kills me, it disturbs me, it worries me anytime we have something like this happening. But we need to be inclusive on the conversation and understand exactly what it is we're talking about. I pray for you almost every day. It's an honor to serve. I love you all. I love this country. And I pray for safety over my family, and I pray for safety over your family. We're going to continue to fight. We're not going to give up on this. May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.
Okay, so the congressman says some pretty ridiculous things in there. Per the usual, he's just trying to hit the typical, GOP talking points. He brings up liberal Hollywood elites for some reason. I'm not too sure why. Call of Duty, the game that he references in there, is developed by Sledgehammer and published by Activision, neither of which I believe are in bed with Hollywood, but regardless, he throws it out there anyways. Then he repeatedly says over and over, gun control, everybody just wants to talk about gun control. Which my issue with that is it insinuates that there's like a serious proposal on the table to outright ban guns, which there's not. When we talk about gun control, we're talking about tightening down regulations, limiting high capacity magazines, universal background checks. 97% of people support that. 75% of people support a 30-day waiting period on gun purchases. So when we talk about gun control, that's what we're talking about. Even an assault rifle ban is pretty far out there compared to what most Americans want. Not to mention he brings up, he doesn't support gun control because it negatively influences law-abiding citizens. Nevertheless, I can only assume that he would support highly regulating, if not outright banning video games, judging by his rhetoric in this video, which would that not punish law-abiding citizens? I'm pretty sure that 99.999% of Call of Duty players have never and will never commit a mass murder, but regardless, once again, he throws it out there. And he also brings up, he feels like video games promote violence and it desensitizes us to violence. This guy was a former MMA fighter, which I don't have an issue with, but if you're going to claim that, violence is, it's so evil, but you're okay with beating the shit out of other people to make a paycheck, that's a little bit crazy. And finally, he just sounds like a major buzzkill. He talks about excuse me, he talks about how his brother-in-law was playing Call of Duty with his two kids. You know, who cares? I remember being 10, 11 years old, watching Saving Private Ryan for the first time. The opening scene in that is so much more violent than any of the Call of Duty games. But he doesn't, he doesn't bring up movies. He just brings up video games. That's the real issue. And, I picture his brother-in-law trying to be an uncle to the kids, teach them about World War II while playing some video games. And here comes fucking, dad bitching about how Call of Duty is, leads to mass murder. And to top it all off, he finishes the video by saying, we need to understand what we're talking about here. Congressman, I think you should take your own advice on that one.